Okay, guys, this next section is about proportions, and there's lots of different problems that come with these types of relationships, proportional relationships. For example, let's say you're cooking. So I'm in my kitchen. So hey, if I tell you that for every half cup of flour, we're going to add a quarter cup of butter, okay? What would happen if I doubled this and made it a cup? How much butter would I need then? Okay, the relationship is that this is twice as much as this. So if I make this twice as big, I've got to make this twice as big. So as one increases, so does the other. So the answer would be a half a cup. If I had a whole cup, I would need a half a cup of butter. In another weird way, what if I told you that for every half a cup of, I don't know, beans, your mom bought you 2 highlighters. They have nothing to do with each other, I know, but let's just say that. Okay, this is actually a quarter cup, not a half cup. For every quarter cup of beans you eat, you get 2 highlighters. Well, what happens if you eat a half a cup of beans? See, we doubled it to get 4 highlighters. Okay, so the idea is that you're looking at the relationship between two things, and you can set up a proportion to solve these. So initially, we're going to be looking at just solving proportions, and then we're going to be looking at word problems that are related to proportions. All right. Let me get rid of my camera. All right. So let's go these away. All right. So take a look at problem type number 1. Okay. What we have is a proportion here, and what you are probably used to is cross multiplying. Kids love cross multiplying because it's easy and it's simple. The problem with that is that a lot of times kids can't remember when to use it, and they start calling everything cross multiplying. Get a common denominator? Don't you cross multiply? No. Okay, this is the only time you can cross multiply. It's when you have two equivalent fractions. It's basically saying this fraction is equal to this fraction. Okay, so a simple way to solve it is to cross multiply. Okay, we're going to do it that way first. And then I'm going to show you how it relates to what we've been doing in class for the last, well, I guess yesterday for sure. Y plus 5 equals 16 equals 3/4, right? So let's cross multiply. This becomes 4 times y plus 5 is equal to 16 times 3. That is 48. And then we're going to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. You're going to subtract 20 from both sides. 48 minus 20 is 28, and divide by 4, and you will get 7. All right, that's a really simple way. You don't really have to think too much. The only danger here is not remembering to put your parentheses. That happens quite often. Okay, take a look. I really wanted you to understand, though, believe it or not, cross multiplying is pretty much the same thing, or will give you the same results as if you were going to multiply by the least common denominator. So we've been talking about that. How do you get rid of a fraction? You get an equation with a fraction. Oh my God, I got a fraction. You want to get rid of it? Just multiply by the least common denominator. Get them over the same denominator. So 4 goes into 16, right? 4 times, okay? So the least common denominator is 16. Okay, so we're going to multiply both sides by 16 and watch what happens. This side cancels out and you get y plus 5. This side cancels out and you get equals 12. Y is equal to 7. Okay, one last way I want to show you, just because some of you might do it this way. One more time. Some of you just might multiply by this. Get it over the common denominator. So you multiply this one by 4 over 4, which is really just 1, just multiplying it by 1, and you get y plus 5 equals 12. And the reason why you can do that is because if you have a common denominator, in a fraction, you can set the numerators equal to each other because they're both being taken out of the same amount. All right, that's the longest explanation for one problem I'll give you. You are allowed to do it either one of these three ways. It's totally fine with me. You choose. All right, so here we go. Except for here's a little different. We don't have numbers in the bottom. And you guys may or may not remember your rational. We didn't really get into it in geometry last semester. And you also might not remember your rational expressions and equations. But what that is when you have a variable in the denominator. So for these kinds of problems, the least common denominator is actually LCD is equal to x times x plus 3. I am not sure how well you'll remember that or know that, so it's probably best to just cross multiply. And you'll get negative 14x is equal to negative 8 times x plus 3. We will learn that, by the way. That'll become common knowledge for you. Distribute negative 8x minus 24. Add 8x to both sides. I'm actually going to write it because my brain is having issues right now. So negative 6x equals negative 24. Divide by negative 6 and you will get 4. And that's your answer. Take a look here. Okay, now we're getting into the word problems. Okay, let's start reading. It says there's a sales tax of $22 on an item that costs $272 before tax. Okay, the sales tax on a second item is $19.25. So we're talking about two items. We have 1, 2. So we're comparing two items. That's kind of what triggers the proportional knowledge. Like, oh, I'm doing a proportion. How much does the second item cost before tax? So it's real easy to do these problems as long as you keep the same parts. Okay, so I'm going to put the tax over the whole. Believe it or not, you could put the whole over the tax. It doesn't matter as long as you keep both sides the same. So 22 over 272. And on this side, the sales tax is $19.25. But what we don't know is how much does it cost, the second item cost. So again, cross multiply. You're going to get 22x is equal to 19.25 times, let's see. Sorry, I don't have, let me get my calculator out. How about you guys do it before me? It is 19.25 times 272. I got 5,236. 5,236. Divide both sides by 22. And I got 238. That means that the answer is $238. Now, ask yourself if that makes sense. They charged 22 for 272. Does it make sense that that's a little bit less? Yeah, because that's a little bit less. Okay, moving on. All right, a car dealership decreased the price of a certain car by 13%. Okay, decreased. It means the car is going to cost less. The original price was $41,800. Okay, what they're going to do here in ALEX is kind of baby step you into solving this problem. So first it says fill in the blank to write the new price in terms of the original price. Okay, write your answer as a decimal. So what is the new price? So think about it. They're not asking you for the discounted amount. They're asking you for the new price. So if the whole car used to cost 100%, that was what it cost, but then they took off 13%. The car now costs 87% of what it was. So the new price here is 87.87 of the original price. And then now you just have to actually fill that in. So 41,800 times 0.87 is 36,366. Does that make sense? Did the price go down? Yeah. Did it go down by a little more than 10%? Yeah. Do you know how much 10% is of this? This is a really good trick for taking a test. 10%, you just take off the last digit, the last zero. So 4,180. Did we take off a little bit more than 4,000? Yeah, we did, just a little bit. Okay, again, always check to make sure it makes logical sense. Here we go, next problem. Last year, Jim opened an investment account with $6,500. At the end of the year, the amount had increased by 24%. Okay, fill in the blank to write the year-end amount in terms of the original amount. Write your answer as a decimal. Okay, so you might want to go, oh, well, the year-end amount is equal to 0.24 times 6,500. But remember, that's going to be the amount that he earned. Okay, that's actually only going to be the amount extra that he earned. So how do you multiply it by a decimal to get both the part that he earned and the original amount? There's a nice little trick. You just put a 1 here. What that means is that you are going to take, if you were to do this as a distribution problem, think about it this way. You're doing like 6,500 here times 1 plus 0.24, right? Isn't 1.24 1 plus 0.24? So that's the first year, 6,500. That's the extra that he got in that year. The 0.24 is the extra amount. So 1.24 goes here, and then multiply it out. So you get 1.24 times 6,500. 6,500 times 1.24. 8,000. 8,000. What happened to my pen? 8,060. That is how much he had at the end of the first year. All right, keep moving. I will say this, when you guys do taxes, a lot of times you get these tax problems and they tell you there's a 7% tax. The easiest way to always do those, if they ask you for the final amount, is 1.07. Multiply it by the tax plus 1. And it'll give you the final amount. If we hit another problem like that, I'll let you know. Here we go. Okay, last year, Greg opened an investment account with $8,200. At the end of the year, oh, by the way, if you're a second language English learner, we do this thing all the time where we count in hundreds, like 8,200 or 8,200. Both are really common, very, very common. So last year, Greg opened an account with $8,200. At the end of the year, the amount had increased by 22.5%. How much is this increase in dollars? So now they're asking you what the increase was. Not how much money was there, but how much was the increase. Then they asked you for how much money was in his account. So this is the total, and this is the increase. So the increase amount is, you're going to take that percentage and multiply it by the 8,200. Okay, because now you need to take the percent increase multiplied by the original amount. Okay, so what is that? 0.225 times 8,200, 1,845. 1,845. Then that's how much the increase was. That goes here. What's the total amount? We'll add the increase. The total is the increase plus the original. So we're going to add it to the original, which was 8,200 plus 1,845. And we are going to get, I know I worked backwards, but that's okay. Math works. Equal sign is equal. 10,045. 10,045. I used to have a math teacher that you could never say and 45 because he would put a decimal. He'd be like, boom, and you never could. If I said 10,000 and 45, he would go 10,000 and 45. I try to be careful, but occasionally I slip and say and. All right, here we go. An item on sale cost 15% of the original price. The original price was $73. All right, so let's set up I want to do this a couple ways. Set up a proportion and the way that some of you guys already know it. Sometimes you could just take the percent times the original, and that gives you the new. I've been using that. I'm also going to show you my default, which would be to set up a proportion. I could not do percents until I was like in senior year. I don't know why, they eluded me. So the way I got through it was I would always set up a percent. So it says an item on sale costs 15% of the original price. The original price was 73. If you understand percents, you understand that this is all you need to do. 0.15 times 73. So 0.15 times 73 is equal to, let's make sure your calculator doesn't have any weird stuff from before. Okay, 1095. And that makes sense because, I mean, they're only charging you 15% of the original price. So if you think about it, the whole pie was 73. And what would be 15? This is 25. So 15 would be like this little chunk of it. That would be worth. That's the new price, so to speak, if you're thinking of it in terms of pie. So let's talk about that. If you were to set up a proportion, this is the way you do it. It's always the piece of the whole. So in percentages, the number always goes over percent. Per cent. That cent means refers to 100, like century, okay? Or a penny, which is 1 cent, right? Okay, century's 100 years, all right? And now we're going to make an equivalent fraction. Okay, so we took the piece out of the whole. Is the 73 the piece or is it the whole? Okay, the sale price is the piece. So that's our x, and 73 goes here. And then we cross multiply. You get 100x equals 15 times 73 is 1095. Divide by 100 and you get 1095. See, same answer. All right, that is the last problem on here. I just want to run back real quick. Let me know if you have any issues on these problems. All right.